In ancient Rome, power was a prize worth killing for. Agrippina, a mother who would stop at nothing to see her son Nero on the throne. Was it ambition or madness that drove her to poison an empire?
Did not be deterred. The second time, he sent assassins directly to her villa. As legend tells us, Agrippina faced them with an unflinching gaze. Some say her last words were a command to strike her womb first, the place that had given Rome its emperor. Whether or not those words are true, her death marked the end of an era and the beginning of Nero's true reign. A reign that would plunge Rome into infamy. In the candlelit chambers of her villa, Agrippina's life faded, but her legacy blazed on. The city that had once trembled beneath her will now quaked under the chaos she had helped create. The historians, those tireless chroniclers of power, would debate her motives for centuries. Was she a villain, driven by greed and the lust for control? Or was she a mother, determined to secure her son's destiny in a world that offered her nothing but obstacles? The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. Let's step back for a moment. The world of ancient Rome was not kind to women who sought power. The rules were written by men, for men. But Agrippina was never content to play by the rules. She understood that to survive, she had to be both more cunning and more ruthless than any man who sat on the throne. She studied the art of influence. She learned the value of alliances, of knowing when to flatter, when to threaten, and when to wait in the shadows. From her earliest days, Agrippina understood that every smile in the imperial palace could hide a knife. She saw her own family torn apart by ambition, her mother exiled, her father poisoned, her brother driven mad by the crown. She learned that love could be weaponized and that loyalty was always for sale. But while others chose to cower or complain, Agrippina chose to act. Her marriage to Claudius was not a union of hearts, but of minds. She saw in him a man who craved acceptance, a man who had been mocked for his stutter and his limp, who had been overlooked and underestimated. She offered him partnership, respect, and the promise of a dynasty. In return, he offered her the keys to the empire. Together, they ruled with a subtlety that was as effective as it was dangerous. But power, once gained, is never secure. There are always rivals waiting in the wings, always whispers of betrayal echoing through marble halls. Agrippina's position was never safe, not from the senators who resented her interference, nor from the freedmen who plotted in the shadows. She responded with a mixture of charm and cruelty, rewarding those who served her and eliminating those who threatened her. She played the game better than anyone else, but even she could not foresee every move. When Claudius began to waver, when he started to show favor to his own son, Britannicus, Agrippina knew the time for subtlety was over. The poison she chose was not just a weapon, it was a message. In Rome, even emperors were mortal. The throne was not inherited, it was claimed. And Agrippina was determined that her son would claim it, whatever the cost. The early years of Nero's reign were a testament to Agrippina's skill. The empire flourished under his rule, guided by her steady hand. She attended meetings of the Senate, received envoys from distant lands, and issued decrees in her son's name. The coins of the realm bore her image alongside his, a symbol of their shared authority. For a brief moment in history, Rome was ruled not by a man, but by a mother and her son. But power is a fickle ally. As Nero grew into his role, he began to chafe under his mother's influence. He resented her advice, her criticism, her refusal to let him stand on his own. The court was soon divided between those loyal to Agrippina and those who saw opportunity in her downfall. Plots were hatched, alliances shifted, and, inevitably, the bond between mother and son fractured beyond repair. The story of Agrippina's end is as dramatic as any tragedy. Nero's attempts to kill her became almost farcical. The collapsing boat, the staged accidents, the hired assassins. But Agrippina was nothing if not resilient. She survived the first attempt, swimming through the dark waters of the Bay of Baiae, wounded but unbroken. She sent word to her son, refusing to show fear. But Nero, driven by paranoia and ambition, would not be satisfied until she was dead. When the assassins finally came, There was no escape. Agrippina met her fate with the same courage that had defined her life. She did not plead or beg. She faced her killers with dignity, her final act a reminder of the strength that had carried her from exile to the very heart of the empire. Her death was brutal, but her legacy was more enduring than any wound. In the years that followed, Nero's reign descended into madness. The empire he inherited from his mother became a playground for his excesses. Rome burned, literally and figuratively. As Nero squandered his inheritance, the senators who had once praised him now whispered of rebellion. The people who had once cheered his name now cursed it. And through it all, the memory of Agrippina lingered, a ghost haunting the marble corridors she had once ruled. Historians have argued for centuries about Agrippina's true nature. Some see her as a monster, a woman willing to poison her husband, manipulate her son, and destroy anyone who stood in her way. Others see her as a survivor, a victim of circumstance, who used the only tools available to her in a world that offered her no mercy. The reality, as always, is more complex. Agrippina was brilliant. She was ruthless. She was, in many ways, a product of her time, a time when power was everything and survival meant outwitting your enemies. She used every advantage she had, her family name, her intelligence, her beauty, her wit. She refused to accept the limitations placed on her by society. She refused to be a pawn in someone else's game. But Agrippina was also a mother. Her love for Nero was fierce, if not always pure. She wanted greatness for her son, not just for his sake, but for her own. She saw in him the chance to create a legacy that would outlive her, to secure her place in history. She was willing to sacrifice everything, her reputation, her safety, even her soul, to see him succeed. In the end, Agrippina's greatest triumph became her undoing. She had given Rome an emperor, but she could not control the man he became. The power she had fought so hard to secure slipped through her fingers. The boy she had raised to rule turned on her, just as so many before him had turned on their own kin. And yet, even in death, Agrippina refused to be forgotten. Her story is a reminder that history is not just the story of men and their battles. It is also the story of women, of mothers, daughters, and sisters, who shaped the world in ways that often went unseen. Agrippina's life was marked by loss, betrayal, and ambition. But it was also marked by courage, intelligence, and resilience. She was not a hero, she was not a villain, she was something far more interesting, a woman who refused to accept the world as it was and who dared to imagine what it could be. As the centuries passed, Agrippina's name became a byword for ambition and intrigue. Writers and artists painted her as a femme fatale, a poisoner, a schemer. But beneath the layers of myth and legend lies the truth of a woman who fought for her place in a world that tried to deny her existence. The marble busts that survived the fall of Rome bear her likeness, proud, determined, unyielding. The coins that were stamped with her image are a testament to her power. The stories that have survived are a testament to her influence. Agrippina the Younger may have died by her son's hand, but she lived on in the memory of an empire. So, what would you sacrifice for your child's future? For Agrippina, the answer was everything. Her story is not just a tale of poison and betrayal. It is a story of survival, of ambition, of the lengths to which a mother will go to secure her child's destiny. And as you walk through the ruins of ancient Rome, beneath the shadow of the palaces where she once lived, you can almost hear her whisper, "Power is never given, it is taken," and history remembers those who dared to take it. In the end, Agrippina's legacy is not just the story of one woman's rise and fall. It is the story of Rome itself, a city built on ambition, held together by cunning, and forever haunted by the ghosts of those who reached for greatness, no matter the cost. Her life reminds us that history is not black and white. It is a tapestry of choices, consequences, and the relentless pursuit of power. Agrippina the Younger may have lived and died centuries ago, but her story still echoes through time, a testament to the enduring power of ambition and the price that must be paid for greatness. So, the next time you hear the name Agrippina, remember the woman behind the legend. Remember the mother who shaped an emperor, the strategist who outwitted her rivals, the survivor who refused to be broken. Remember that history is written not just by the victors, but by those who dared to fight for their place in it. And perhaps, in her story, you'll find a reflection of the choices we all face, the sacrifices we make, the risks we take, and the legacies we leave behind. For in every age, in every empire, the game of power is played anew. The names may change, but the stakes remain the same. This was the story of Agrippina the Younger, a woman who dared to rule Rome and changed history forever.
If you love uncovering the dark secrets of history, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and join us every week for more untold stories from the ancient world.